Are these yours?
It is my understanding that you can no longer ask me these questions, sir.
Hey folks, and welcome to the Salty Seaman 2017 year in review of the military. Now, I know this is a bit late, but screw it. I have holidays to do too, so I was enjoying myself, and I needed a little break after Operation Christmas. I mean, good God, what a fucking terrible movie. And they copyright blocked me because Hallmark said, fuck you and your shitty review. So anyway, that out of the way, let's get to the top military stories of 2017 as provided by themilitarytimes.com and also a few of my others that they missed. Start off with the collisions in 7th Fleet. We had 2 ships go down in 7th Fleet from collisions that could have been avoided. Especially with the USS McCain. The other one, it's a lot of problems. Really gave a pinpoint to the military where they're lacking in training and, not to mention, lack of sleep, which isn't getting enough airplay, I think, with this. Number one, yes, training. Of course, you need more training. There's obviously a training deficiency, and a lot of people are bitching and moaning like, "Well, they spend so much time training cultural sensitivity and more on shipboard." Blah 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 blah. Okay, fine. You know what? Why can't we do both? But problem with all training is it becomes so rote and PowerPoint in the military that your eyes kind of glaze over. Approach to training needs to change. There's no reason you can't do both. You can't teach people how to, interact with transgender or avoid sexual assault and make it at least somewhat interesting at the point. The same as shipboard seamanship training. These are all things that can be avoided. But number one, lack of sleep, military issue forever. I mean, this is simply a matter of, we pride ourselves on getting by on a little sleep, and sometimes you got to do that. But when you're at sea at a high tempo and it's going on 2-3 months where your watchstanders are getting 5-6 hours a night, that shit builds up. And some nights they're not getting that, because it's not just staying on watches, but all the other shit you got to do, all the quals you got to get, working on pins, whatever other shit you're working on. That shit starts to build up, not to mention the repetition of being at sea. It's familiar. You're doing the same shit every day. It's easy to slack off. These are things that Navy really needs to work on. So, of course, my heart goes out to those lost in those collisions, all the damage, the injured people. It's fucking horrific. Hopefully the Navy takes steps to alleviate these issues, both in training and in watch time sleep. North Korea. Now, our new presidential regime has got us a whole bunch of new interesting military stories. So let's start with the biggest one, of course, threat of nuclear annihilation. Something all the kids can talk about. Kim Jong dick lickers out there saying his dick is bigger. President Trump saying his is bigger. Who's got the bigger button? And we sit here on the edge of nuclear fucking devastation. Should be a lot of fun to look forward to in the next year. Bowie Bergdahl, the deserter, the army deserter, pled guilty. Gets to, didn't quite get the sentence a lot of people thought he was. In fact, a lot of people kind of wanted this guy lined against a wall and shot. Desertion on duty. Going fucking old school. Now, my take on it is, why don't we focus more on mental health when you enter the military than finding out this shit once they're in. Obviously, this guy is mentally disturbed, was not fit to be a soldier, not fit to be on that guard post. And I've been through MEPS twice. I got no psychological evaluation whatsoever. Maybe it's changed since last time I went through in 2002. Someone let me know. But as far as I know, there's a couple of questions that are pretty simple for anyone to not answer wrong. They're related to your psychology. There's no real trying to figure out the psyche of people. I don't think the military wants that, because I think it would hurt a lot of their recruitment. If someone's judging these people on their mental. But I think it's something that needs to be done. I served 20 years. I met a lot of people who had no business being in the military. And we're talking Navy on ships where it's dangerous enough. You've got mentally unbalanced, mentally unqualified people working on shit. But put a gun in their hands and put them on the front fucking line, that's just asking for trouble. This is definitely a situation where the military needs to get a grip on not just inside once they're in, now we're going to deal with your mental issues. We need to be looking at this shit at MEPS at the point. There needs to be someone there doing real psychological evaluations of people wanting to join. That's my take. The hazing at Parris Island. I thought this was even longer ago. I didn't realize this was the beginning of this year. Infamous incident where a Muslim recruit committed suicide after getting beat down. A lot of spotlight on Marine drill instructors, which always have the reputation of being the hardest and the baddest boot camp to go through. The question is, when is too far? Now, another incident that came out of this was another Muslim guy apparently was put in a dryer for hazing, which I think everyone can agree is, pushing it too far for anything, even the fucking Marine Corps boot camp. So, yeah, there is a thin line there, and we want our Marines to be the baddest of the fucking bad, and your boot camp's going to suck, but draw a fucking line and don't use the boots as an excuse to get your frustrations of your failing marriage and the too many hours you're working, Mr. Drill Instructor. It's not their fucking fault. This is yours taking the career boost of being a drill instructor. So yeah, knock it the fuck off. Okay, keep that line, know where that line is, and maintain it. It's called professionalism. Former Air Force guy shoots up a church in Texas. We found out DOD is not disclosing to federal law enforcement people who have violent history have been booted out as they're supposed to. There is a law in place, but it just doesn't happen because DOD always had a problem bringing over. It's kind of like a secretive bunch, the military is. We don't really like sharing our shit with the rest of the government, local or federal. And here's a case where, that kind of thing wasn't considered important. And this guy, got a hold of weapons, which he might have anyway, and shot up a fucking place. Regardless, yeah, another flaw in the DOD system and a culture of this is our business, we keep our business to themselves. Well, you can't always do that, especially once you release a fucking psychopath out of your, into harm's way to the civilian populace when you booted him out of the military service. Again, and I'll tie this right back to psychological training in MEPS, or psychological evaluations of MEPS. This is what it can lead to. So definitely something DOD has to be more hand in hand with federal government when it comes to releasing court-martialed people on violent offenses. Air Force is low on pilots. These things happen, shortfalls in manning. This one brought up an interesting thing where they're allowing people, at first it was like we're going to recall retired people, which you can't, because there's a slight misunderstanding between retired and reserve. In the Navy and Marines we call it Fleet Reserve. I don't know what the Army and Air Force call it. Field Reserve, who fucking knows. But up until a certain age, when you're retired and getting your pension, you're still technically in the reserves. Once you're retired, they can't recall you. I think they're meaning those people in between, but it wasn't mandatory. It was a volunteer if you want to come back, is how it turned out. So it ended up not really being a big story of like we're recalling retirees, as it kind of got blown out in the civilian press. I think it was just a lot of misunderstanding of what retirement means in the military. So yeah, not a big story. Air Force will figure out how to get its pilots back to where they need to be. Revenge porn. Again with the Marines, we got people banging fellow Marines and then posting videos and pictures to their buddies to laugh and haw about, and people got busted for it. And now I'm sure a ton of fucking training just went down on these guys, probably a whole military wide, about you can't do this without someone's permission. You can take it with their permission, videos and pictures, but you can't broadcast it. That doesn't give you implicit permission to broadcast it. And there was like a whole Facebook page of Marines just trading this shit. Can't think of anything more fucking skeevy to do. Just go out and bang strippers. Quit banging your fellow Marines anyway. Just go fucking be a good private PFC and go bang a stripper. Get married, have 3 kids, have her turn fat while you're still paying off your 2017 Mustang. Okay? Transgender ban. Transgenders are now welcome in the military. We get a new administration trying to curry favor with the religious right. Said, okay, we're going to, just to help you, we're going to, because I don't personally think Trump gives a shit, but I think, he's trying to play politics here, and there's a certain group of Republicans who don't want this shit. So there was attempts to ban and block transgenders from joining, even stop people who are already in the middle of transition after the military said it was okay. Of course, no, you can't fucking do that. Luckily the courts agreed, and even after that, he kept pushing to DOD. And Mad Dog Mattis, we'll get to next, just said no. I didn't know you could do that. That is so great. Awesome. The Secretary of Defense is like, President, I see what you're saying, but no, not going to do it. And there wasn't shit he could do about it. So as for now, transgender policy stays the same in the military. So we'll see where that goes. I don't think that's the end of that story whatsoever, but an interesting take. Now, as promised, talk a little bit about Mad Dog here. Of course, the big joke is, the most competent person, at least according to some, that Trump has put into his cabinet is a guy named Mad Dog, which is just hilarious. But for the most part, it's something everyone agreed on. The right, the left, neutral pundits said, like, this is a good choice for SecDef. I happen to agree. I think Mattis is a great leader and been doing a good job as SecDef considering what he's had to deal with. So kudos for, in my opinion, the right choice. Navy bans vape on shipboard use. An alternative to smoking, this little, blowing steam out that's nicotine enhanced, as an alternative to smoking has gotten really big in the last few years. So of course there's people on the ships using them. However, they have batteries that can explode. Now, this one is absolute bullshit. And I'll tell you fucking why. Because there's tons and tons of personal electronics that come on use the same kind of batteries that aren't getting these fucking, draconian rules placed on them. When I first came in the Navy, you had electronics. You took everything to the electrical shop and you got it safety checked to make sure it didn't do this shit. Like, why can't that work? Why is it's more of a punishment for people choosing to vape, while people are doing the worst thing of actual smoking still get to go to a fucking smoking sponson with their fire hazard. Meanwhile, something that has a very tiny chance of fucking exploding, like vape batteries, it's completely banned. Not even, I understand, it's like, okay, you can't use them in the office spaces anymore. You got to go out with the rest of the smokers. That happened to me. I started vaping during the Wild West. There was no rule against it. We just vape wherever. The DOD says, no, you got to go out with smokers. Fine, okay. It does have a smell to it. But completely banning them over an arbitrary battery issue is complete horseshit. And finally, how could I not let the year go by without mentioning the dicks? Sky Dick, Navy pilots, some of my own, enjoying themselves and drew a little dick in the sky over Washington, and it was noticed. This seems like one of those things that probably could have gotten away with in years past. Now you got social media and everybody with a camera at the ready. So no, this did not go past. I think I heard something like the pilots got grounded for a while. They got some kind of punishment. I hope it wasn't too much. I hope they're definitely not grounding these guys forever or kicking them. I mean, it's fucking silly. It's pilots being fucking pilots. They're goddamn jocks. They're having a little fun. And for the most part, I didn't even see anybody offended, even the most offended of the offendees, and you're up in Pacific Northwest, the king of fucking liberal hippie shit. Most of them thought it was funny too. Because it is funny. It's a dick and ball in the sky. Who doesn't think that shit's funny? Everyone does. Even lesbians. I saw it. So that's all I got for the year in review of 2017 when it comes to military issues. I left a few out. I didn't talk about the VA. I have personal reasons for that. I have too close of ties to it for the family member involved in that, so I'm leaving that alone. But what other issues with the military in 2017 did I miss that you think is worthy talking about? Let me know in the comments. Let's have some discussion. As always, if you like what you see, go see my other videos. See if you want to subscribe. And then beyond that, if you want to make sure you get every update I give, ring the bell so I will always be in your feed when I have something new coming out. Hopefully also a better year for how YouTube handles its content providers, because last year kind of fucking sucked. So that's all I got for now. This is the Salty Seaman signing off. Love you freaks. Peace.